hear us?
Yes.
Commissioner Riano, can you hear us?
I can, thank you.
All right. Rock and roll.
There's Mr. Riano. Okay. New York Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 102, provides that the New York State Gaming Commission shall consist of 7 members appointed by the governor, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. 4 members confirmed by the New York State Senate are necessary to afford the commission an ability to establish quorum and undertake action. This present meeting of the commission is now called to order. Ms. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
John Crotty,
Here.
Peter Machete,
Here.
Brian O'Dwyer,
Present.
Christopher Riano,
Here.
Marissa Shorenstein,
Here.
Jerry Skurnick.
Here. The Secretary, please have the record reflect that a quorum of qualified members is present, thus enabling the transaction of business. Please note that this meeting is being conducted by video conferencing at 2 previously identified locations, with both being properly noticed and accommodating public attendance, and one member is utilizing video conferencing due to a snow emergency in his locale and appearing by video due to that emergency.
Minutes of the commission meeting conducted on October 27, 2022 have been provided to the members in advance. At this time, I'd like to ask the members of the commission if there are any edits, corrections, or amendments. Hearing none, please let the record reflect that the minutes have been accepted. New York State Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law 104.19 authorizes the Commission to promulgate rules and regulations that it deems necessary to carry out its responsibility. To that regard, the Commission will, from time to time, promulgate rules and regulations and amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedure Act. Today, we have 3 rules for adoption. Mr. Williams.
For Commission consideration is adoption of a proposed consensus rulemaking to make the rule concerning substitute stewards consistent with the amended Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 218. The proposed rule was published in the September 7th, 2022 State Register, meaning that the public comment period expired on November 7th, 2022. No comments were received. The Commission recommends that the staff recommends that the Commission adopt this rulemaking.
Commissioners, any questions on the adoption of the rule regarding the designation of substitute stewards? Hearing none, may I have a motion to accept this rule?
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Williams.
For Commission consideration is the adoption of proposed amendments to various casino licensing regulations. Experience with occupational and vendor licensing applications suggests that certain rules could be clarified or modified to enhance the licensing process. The proposal included extending passive investor and qualified institutional investor definitions to threshold ownership interests in any type of entity, in addition to publicly traded corporations, clarifying that waiver provisions applying to licensing standards and qualification standards, clarifying that an applicant denied a license or registration based on criminal history is not barred from applying for a different position, as the relevancy of the criminal history may differ depending upon the position for which the applicant applies, clarifying standards for licensure or registration by incorporating statutory cross-references to important provisions or otherwise setting forth standards by regulation, clarifying that incomplete or misleading information in an occupational licensing or registration application may result in the denial of licensure, eliminating a provision that is inconsistent with the practice of temporary licensure of gaming employee registrants, clarifying standards for gaming employee registrants by incorporating statutory cross-references to important provisions, clarifying discretion to determine the scope of investigation of non-gaming employee registrants, clarifying the duration of non-gaming employee registration, clarifying the circumstances under which certain vendors are not required to be registered, broadening the scope of discretionary waivers of licensing and qualification requirements for passive or institutional investors, and establishing wagering restrictions for owners, managers, supervisory personnel, and employees of casino vendor enterprises or ancillary casino vendor enterprise licensees that provide services to a gaming facility. The notice of public proposed rulemaking was published in the October 5th, 2022 State Register. The text of the proposed amendments has been circulated. Public comment period for the proposal expired on December 5th. And if I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but there was one public comment that was received on this one. None were received?
None.
No public comments were received on this one. Staff recommends that the commission adopt this proposed rulemaking.
Commissioners, any questions on the adoption of a rule regarding licensing and registration of gaming facility employees and vendors? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the rule?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Mr. Williams.
For commission consideration, the adoption of proposed amendments to address ineligible potential claimants in thoroughbred claiming races. Establish procedures for resolving challenges to claims in a direct force custody if the stewards discover a claimant had been ineligible. The genesis of this proposal is internal, following practical identification of process deficiencies. In general, the racetrack's racing office is tasked with verifying claimant eligibility, namely that a claimant is licensed, has participated in a current or prior racing meet, and has adequate funds on deposit to claim. Although rare, an administrative error regarding eligibility can lead to substantial complications when a horse is in the custody of an ineligible claimant, as the horse may be treated or trained in a manner inconsistent with the desires of the rightful owner. A clear process for the resolution of claims, objections, and stewards' orders regarding horse ownership are necessary to ensure disputes are properly determined. Accordingly, this proposal would make explicit the current practice that it is the responsibility of the racetrack's racing secretary to verify the eligibility of potential claimants and to conduct the disposition of the horse by lot in the event of multiple claims. The proposal would also establish deadlines for an objection to a claim award and procedures to resolve disputes. Finally, the proposal would make explicit that a horse person who enters a potential claim despite being ineligible and racetrack office personnel charged with verifying eligibility who fail to do so properly may face commission discipline. The proposed rule was published in the October 5th, 2022 State Register, meaning the public comment period expired on December 5th. 2 public comments were received, one from the New York Racing Association and the other from the New York Thoroughbred Breeders Association. Both express support for this proposal. Staff recommends that the commission adopt this rulemaking.
Commissioners, any questions on the adoption of a rule regarding ineligible potential claimants in thoroughbred claiming races? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Adjudications. The next item of scheduled business regards adjudication. Today we have 2 matters for adjudication. Mr. Williams.
On May 19th, 2022, State Steward Braulio Baeza Jr. issued a notice of violation to thoroughbred racing clocker Richard Gazer for altering a horse's workout time while training at Belmont Park to make the horse eligible to race, citing the steward's discretionary powers set forth in Commission Rule 22.21. Steward Baeza imposed a 30-day license suspension and a $2,500 fine. Mr. Gazer requested a hearing, which stayed enforcement against his license. The notice of hearing cited Commission Rule 4042.1F which prohibits improper, corrupt, or fraudulent acts or practices in relation to racing or conspiring to assist others in such practices or acts. The hearing was conducted on August 15th, 2022. The hearing officer submitted a report to the Commission Secretary dated October 21st, 2022, recommending that the Commission dismiss the charges. This matter is now ready for final agency determination, and the Commission considered this at a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of New York Public Officers Law, Section 108.1.
The Commission's review of the entire record established the violation as a matter of fact, and in particular found that the conduct was improper in relation to Commission Rule 4042-1F, and agreed to accept the steward's penalty.
The next item is
Mr. Williams.
for consideration is in the matter of Orlando Noda. On August 15th, 2021, State Steward Braulio Baeza Jr. issued a notice of violation to thoroughbred racing trainer and exercise rider Orlando Noda for actions detrimental to the best interest of racing, for striking a horse excessively while working the horse out at Saratoga Racecourse on August 5th, 2021. Steward Baeza imposed a $5,000 fine. Mr. Noda requested a hearing which stayed collection of the fine. The notice of hearing also cited Commission Rule 4042.1F, which prohibits improper, corrupt, and fraudulent acts. The hearing was conducted on February 16th, 2022 and March 28th, 2022. The hearing officer submitted a report to the Commission Secretary dated November 1st, 2022, recommending that the Commission dismiss these charges. The Commission considered this matter at a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of Public Officers Law, Section 108.1.
The Commission duly deliberated and considered this matter and determined by a 6-0 vote to reject the hearing officer's reported recommendations. In doing that, the Commissioner's review of the entire record established by a preponderance of the evidence that Noda's conduct was improper and detrimental to the best interest of racing, and determined the appropriate penalty was that which was given by the steward. That is, the fine recommended, a suspension of 90 days, and evidence of completion of an appropriate anger management course before license reinstatement was warranted. Mr. Williams, the next two items of scheduled business regarding Resort World Hudson Valley in Newburgh. The first is a condition precedent to opening, consideration of an agreement between Monticello Raceway Management and MGM Yonkers. Mr. Williams.
By Part 6 of Section 6 of Chapter 39 of the laws of 2019, the state legislature authorized video lottery gaming to be conducted at a facility in Orange County to be operated by the entity otherwise licensed to operate video lottery gaming at Monticello Racetrack, provided that, among other things, the licensed entity, its subsidiaries and affiliates, including the entity licensed to operate a commercial gaming facility in Sullivan County, and the entity licensed to operate video lottery gaming at Yonkers Raceway, enter into a mitigation agreement to be approved by the Commission, which shall include but not be limited to terms that require the operator of the facility in Orange County to make an annual payment to the entity licensed to operate video lottery gaming or commercial gaming at Yonkers Racetrack to account for the effects that the siting of such facility in Orange County would likely have on the gross gaming revenue of the entity licensed to operate at Yonkers Racetrack, employment levels at the affected facilities, and upon expiration or termination of the agreement, the authority to operate video lottery gaming in Orange County shall cease. Monticello Raceway Management Incorporated, doing business as Resorts World Hudson Valley, and MGM Yonkers, Inc., have filed a mitigation agreement with the Commission. Commission staff have reviewed the filing and have verified the required terms are present. Accordingly, staff recommends approval of the mitigation agreement between Monticello Raceway Management and MGM Yonkers.
Commissioners, any questions regarding the mitigation agreement between Monticello Raceway Management, DBA Resorts World Hudson Valley, and MGM Yonkers, Inc.? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve this mitigation agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries unanimous. The next item is consideration of the facility license. Mr. Williams.
As mentioned, Monticello Raceway Management, Inc. seeks approval to open Resorts World Hudson Valley Video Lottery Gaming Facility in the town of Newburgh, Orange County. As mentioned, in 2019, the state legislature authorized the commission to license the operation of a video lottery gaming facility to be located in Orange County. The law requires the facility be operated by a licensed entity no longer operating video lottery gaming at Monticello Raceway, so long as Monticello Raceway is still conducting racing operations. The law also requires that the facility not be sited within 30 miles of MGM Yonkers, and, as the commission just considered, a mitigation agreement between Monticello Raceway Management and MGM Yonkers. In short, staff have verified that Monticello Raceway Management is the proper entity for license, that the racing operations continue at Monticello Racetrack, and that the proposed facility is more than 30 miles from the MGM Yonkers. In addition to the aforementioned, to be issued a video lottery gaming license, Monticello Raceway Management must be found suitable for a licensure pursuant to Article 34 of the tax law and Article 1 of the Racing, Parimutuel, Wagering, and Breeding Law. Commission Rule 5102.1 requires every video lottery gaming facility license applicant to produce information, documentation, and assurances to establish by clear and convincing evidence such applicant's suitability for licensure. Additionally, per Commission Rule 5104.1, the applicant and each of its principals must demonstrate their financial stability by establishing with clear and convincing evidence. Lastly, Commission Rule 5115.3 requires an applicant for a video lottery gaming agent license to illustrate that the proposed facility will have adequate support facilities as well as support consumer amenities and conveniences comparable to other similar facilities in the industry that will encourage repeated player attendance. Staff reviewed exhibits submitted by Monticello Raceway Management with its application and identified no evidence that would require the commission denial. Staff also considered the suitability of the applicant and its principals based on financial documents submitted and found no evidence of financial instability or evidence that they are unsuitable to be a video lottery gaming facility licensee. Staff also seeks authority to issue an operations certificate authorizing Monticello Raceway Management to open Resorts World Hudson Valley following a final pre-opening confirmation that all video lottery gaming equipment is operational, surveillance is properly functioning, and required security controls have been implemented, and that Resorts World Hudson Valley is ready to receive the public. In summary, staff recommends the issuance of a video lottery gaming facility license to Monticello Raceway Management to be valid for a period of 5 years, and requests authority to issue an operation certificate following the final pre-opening facility inspection.
For clarity, I'm going to take the requests individually. Any questions regarding the request to issue a video lottery gaming facility license to Monticello Raceway, DBA Resorts World Hudson Valley? I just want to make a comment here, and maybe any of the commissioners, which is normally I'm reluctant to give staff or to delegate to staff functions which are normally part of what the commissioner should be doing. In this case, I think all we're asking the commission, the staff to do is to ministerially look at the facility and pass on that which is in the physical plant, which I think is a fairly routine program. And therefore, I'm willing at this point in time to vote on these motions. Is there anybody else that wants to comment on the motions?
Makes sense.
Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the video lottery gaming license for Resorts World Hudson Valley?
So moved.
Secondly,
Second.
discussion on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion? Where am I? Okay. Commissioners, any questions regarding the approving of staff to issue an operating certificate following pre-opening facility inspection? I think we've discussed that. Okay. May I have a motion to authorize staff to issue an operation certificate upon suitable review of the facility?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Yeah, got it. Before I conclude, and I have a number of things, but I know that every commissioner member was exposed to the New York Times series regarding the proliferation of sports wagering. Well, I believe that New York has avoided many of the pitfalls other states have experienced. And I was particularly struck by the fact that our aggressive taxation of the thing was absolutely correct in terms of what the other states are doing it. I was disturbed by the sports wagering companies partnering with colleges and universities to promote their product. And I know Commissioner Skernick in particular has brought that up as well to me. In New York, the mobile sports wagering statute and our regulations obligate a patron to be 20 years at one old, except that, of course, in Native American facilities, they can be 18. But the Times mentioned at least a dozen athletic departments and booster clubs that have signed promotional agreements, including here in New York, Syracuse University's Athletics Fund and Turning Stone Resort Casino. I understand the argument is that the sports wagering companies are marketing to an alumni base, and this type of marketing is similar to alcohol sales, which are ubiquitous. But it seems unseemly to me, and I think it's something that the Commission should think about addressing. And I'd love to have your opinions on that.
Well, my first question is, does the commission have authority to do anything with this legislation? Can we prohibit gaming, sports betting, things that we've authorized to, can we prohibit that, or do we have that power? Or?
We do have some regulatory authority relative to advertisement, and we've exercised that. As a matter of fact, here in New York, we're one of the few states that require a preliminary review of certain advertisements, whether for promotional purposes in some instances, and also to ensure that the text of the helplines, et cetera, is appropriately and prominently displayed. Depending upon where we can go relative to lawful, regulation of otherwise lawful conduct, I think is a question relative to interplay as to the ability of the state being able to regulate speech in this particular capacity. And I don't think we have enough information relative to that, and we would have to research the extent to which we have authority in that dominion.
Right. As a general matter, we have very broad general regulatory authority over the subject matter of mobile sports wagering. So we'd have to think about what particular type of regulation might be contemplated to analyze it as as an applied matter to see whether a specific type of area would be consistent with our authority and with the state constitution.
One of the things I wanted to bring up, of course, is if those of us that saw the time series, the fact that this commission does not give credit for gambling casinos and others to promote gambling as opposed to the other states, which have basically partnered that. I would ask our council to come up at the next meeting with Commissioner Skurnick's question is well taken, and maybe an opinion as to what, if we decide to do something, what our options are.
We'll do so.
Before we leave, I have just a couple of remarks that I would very quickly. For those of you who figure out that I'm in here new, and I just wanted to acknowledge a few things that I've been doing. First of all, I want to compliment. I've had a number of meetings, and thanks to Mr. Williams, with the New York Racing Association. I think I had indicated to you when I was first here that I was not happy with the housing of the workers at Belmont. I'm happy to report to you that those concerns are being addressed thanks to Mr. Williams, and I've had a number of meetings with the New York Racing Association and Mr. O'Rourke. I'm happy to report to you that within the next budgets coming up, that there will be additional monies for new work housing within Belmont, a new dormitory, and an upgraded housing for the workers, in addition to the new dormitory that's being built in Saratoga. So considerable, we still have some work to do, obviously, but I compliment New York Racing Association and thank Mr. Williams for putting us together to make sure that those things are being addressed to the benefit of the people who are working at Belmont. I wanted to compliment the casinos, the staff here for their work. I sat in on many of the applications. This is a monumental job in terms of the request for applications for the casinos, the new casino licenses. They have done Herculean work, Mr. Williams and the staff, and I want to thank every one of them on behalf of the commission and people of the state of New York for all that you have done in that regard. I did want to bring up a couple of other things. I have been designated by the governor, ancillary to my job here, to chair the Thoroughbred Fund. I wanted to make sure that we are in the middle of engaging in some professionalization of new procedures. I think I will report back to you hopefully soon that there'll be some, I think there's obviously a need for us to, some real reform there, and I think we're certainly on the way there. I'm particularly upset, and I've made that clear to everybody, that there is a great deal of money owed to the Thoroughbred Fund by the Catskill OTB. I've insisted that those funds be collected. There's no reason for us not to have that done. In terms of the Standardbred, there have been one of the things that we came in, there's been significant increases within the Standardbred Fund for funding for youth and 4-H activities. And I'm very, very delighted to tell you that for the first time we've quadrupled the funding for youth activities to promote the Standardbreds. Finally, in anything, as I had indicated in a press release, the Powerball did not have a winner in New York, and I said to my wife, since I took this job, I didn't get the $1.8 billion, but I could have. So, but the real winners in New York were twofold. One are the people of New York, who were education was greatly benefited by the number of Powerball tickets that were sold, and the vendors, the little shops, the delis and the bodegas throughout New York, who have gotten significant increases in their funding in terms of what they sold. So the lottery, on the whole, had a number of winners, and they were really an important thing. I think we need to acknowledge that as well, and to thank the people in the lottery for all they have done. Mr. Williams has given me, and it's hard for me to read his handwriting, so.
That's fine. We're good. Moving.
Just tell me who it is.
Okay, just the individuals that you were talking about that have been on the phone that.
And I do want to acknowledge them by name, will you?
Ed Burns.
Our general counsel, yeah.
Our general counsel, Lee Park, has done substantial amount of revision work as well, but most importantly, go to the three gentlemen up by the window there. Tom Annapolis, who's the director of the Division of Gaming, and his two deputy directors, Scott McClear and Jim Gugas. All of them have put in a tremendous amount of hours relative to establishment of RFA, which is under review by the Gaming Facility Location Board members themselves as we speak.
I want to thank once again the Gaming Site Commission for their work. I don't think I certainly wasn't aware of the amount of work that was necessary to put into this. And gentlemen, thank you very, very much for all your work. And you too, Mr. Williams. It hasn't started yet, Mr. Commissioner, but it's going. And you too, Mr. Williams, the people of New York are fortunate to have you as our executive director. That concludes my remarks. Anybody have anything else? Commissioners? No?
Well said, Mr. Chairman. I agree with you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so we are adjourned. Thank you.